pitch is looped towards shortstop. Petroselli's back. He's got it. The Red Sox win. And it's pandemonium on the field.
Welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show, brought to you each week by the National Sports Collectors Convention. Join us every Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and get the latest news from the greatest experts in the sports collectibles world. You can watch us on the Great American Collectibles Facebook page, as well as YouTube, or you can listen to us on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. And now your hosts, award-winning sports collectibles author Tom Zappola and Boston radio personality Lou Blasi.
Louie, how are you, bud?
Doing very well. Welcome home.
Yeah, I'm semi-glad to be home. I wish it was a little warmer.
Yeah, it needs to be a little warm.
I think it's going to, though. I think we're going to be good. We're going to, just like the Red Sox, we're going to be good.
I was going to say, you came back and it's 20 degrees, and the Red Sox are 2-8 now? Yeah.
3-8. They won last night.
Lost track of the
They were waiting for Tom to get back into town.
Calvin Arnold. Calvin Arnold is with us. REA Auctions. Calvin gets us. He knows what we're all about. Yes, Calvin. I brought the one-game winning streak back to the Red Sox. Although, listen, remember that you were a Stooges fan. You guys were Stooges fan, right?
Yep.
Okay. Do you remember?
Somewhat.
Cal's too young.
Well, I know, Cal, you're a little too young. But, Louis, do you remember the episode when they were on the golf course and they really completely hacked up the golf course?
Yes.
And Mo, he had an iron in his hand, and he was hacking. And the little Italian groundskeeper came running up to him and says, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And he said to the groundskeeper, "Look, the divots are getting smaller." And that is what's going on with the Red Sox. The divots are getting smaller. All right. They're going to be fine.
All right, Cal, did you expect the Three Stooges reference today?
I did not. That was not on my bingo card.
People here are like jumping off of bridges already. They don't realize that it was like the math. If you do the math, it's like the Patriots or the Giants or whoever playing their first game of the season. That's what the math kind of equals out to. So it's one game. That's the way I'm looking. I was going
to kind of say that is, does everybody think the Red Sox season is 16 games or something?
Exactly. A lot of people do, man.
I know. Wait a second. That's a bad analogy. The analogy is if the Patriots lost their first game of the season 73-0. That's a more accurate analogy.
Well, that's
because it wasn't good.
That is a little more accurate.
It was a bad 2-8.
It really was. God, they sucked. But they're going to be back. They're going to be back. All right, we have a lot to talk about. You guys have a huge spring auction going on. It's already started, correct? When does it end, Kelly?
It has. So it ends April 19th. Initial bids need to be placed by 9 p.m. Eastern time, but over 3,000 lots of a lot of great material.
You know, you say 3,000 lots. Now, I've always wondered, and I don't think I've ever asked this question. Obviously, a lot of the lots that you guys have left over from previous auctions, or is it just you guys build an inventory and decide when you're going to put it in the auction? How does that all work?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's nothing's left over. It's we're starting from scratch every single time. Every single auction, we're out talking with clients and collectors, investors, things of that nature to get more material for the upcoming auction. So we'll have a summer auction that will take place over the national, and right now we're currently actively seeking consignment. So we're always building auction after auction.
Louis, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the auction business is interesting from the standpoint of where you get the items from, and you talk about consigners. And with the volatility of the market, I'm guessing there's a lot of turnover. We talked before the show about Tom's upcoming book about fines. I want to know your feelings on where fines are on their arc. Are we at a point where we're past the peak of the fines, or are there still? We've always kind of assumed it's an endless well. Is it an endless well?
I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know if it's an endless well. I don't know if anybody knows that. But the one thing that I do know, that I've been around since the mid 80s, and that question has been asked since the mid 80s. And here we are, we're still having fines, enough to have Tom write a book about it. So the reality is I think that there's stuff still out there that's not been found, that's still uncovered, undiscovered, and I think we're going to continue into the near future, if not long after we're no longer here.
You know, what we tried to do in this book is the thing when we discussed the project, Ellen and I, and Leighton, and Joe Orlando, and the publisher. You know, we talked at length about what was going to be included in the book, and I was adamant, as was Ellen, about the types of fines, because what's going to wind up happening is once the book comes out, there is certainly going to be people jumping out of the woodwork saying, "Hey, how come my find is not in the book? Why isn't that in here?" And basically, we've whittled it down. I mean, there's going to be probably 100 different items in the book. Now, not 100 finds. We decided we're going to get, it'll be like the top 30 finds ever, but then the rest of them are going to be kind of what we call epic treasures. And they are some of the really iconic pieces that have kind of come through the hobby that have great backstories. Some of them are only worth 20 grand. Some of them are worth 3 million. But we wanted to appeal to kind of everybody. We wanted to appeal to the 80% of the market that can't afford the Ty Cobb PSA 9 Crackerjack card. So that's what we tried to do, and I'm hoping that we're accomplishing that. Like your find, which I don't want to get into the details. I want people to read about it, but
Absolutely.
that find is a find. So we included that in the find portion of the book, and it's a great find, by the way. So we included that, but then I'll throw one. I think I threw it out as an example a couple of weeks ago. We have a signed check by Lou Gehrig. There's a lot of those out there, and it was J.P. Cohen of JP of Memory Lane had it in his private collection, but he bought it. Now you say, well, it's a check from Lou Gehrig. However, the check is made out to a hotel, and I can't remember the name of the hotel, and it's made out for like $35, but it was the hotel was next door to the Mayo Clinic, and he wrote the check the morning after he found out he had ALS. He was checking out of the hotel. That's a cool piece. That's a real cool piece. It's a canceled check, but it's got a great backstory behind it. So that's what we're trying to do in the book. Some just really cool stories. So whatever.
Well, I think backstories mean a lot to collectors, because people are always fascinated by where things come from. It's not always the value. Of course, value does play into the equation, but I think it's more about the story and like where this came from and how it was uncovered, and how has it been sitting where it was sitting, or where it was at for as long as it's been. So I think, to your point, Tom, I think you can have great finds that are a few $1,000s. I think you can have great finds that are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, and I think everything in between. I think it's defined by somewhat by the story, but I think it's more defined by how likely is this to ever be found again?
Right.
Because Ruth balls are great, but Ruth balls, he signed a ton. So
exactly,
is the next Ruth ball find really a find?
Well, I'm going to give you another example. Again, I'm not going to tell you backstory, but using a Ruth ball as an example, we have one of the stories is the very, very last ball that Babe Ruth ever signed. and there's a great backstory behind it, and it was signed, I believe, 3 or 4 weeks before he passed away, but there's a great story behind it. So that's kind of the stuff
Yep.
we're going to do. We're not just extracting, oh, it's a Ty Cobb bat or a Babe Ruth ball or a Mickey Mantle, and there's a zillion Mickey Mantle stories out there. We're trying to be picky
Yep.
on the story and the item. So hopefully it'll work. Anyway, let's get to the auction. We're going to be all over the place today, though. Right out of the gate, that 53 Jackie PSA Mint 9. Tell us about that card, man. That's gold.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Actually, that collection came at the last minute, like as we're getting ready to close up the auction and put the book to print. So that collection, unfortunately, it was from a family where the family member passed away, left the collection, and there's a lot more behind that. It was a very significant collection that will be offered there's a few pieces in this auction. There's going to be a lot coming up in the summer auction, so that collection is going to be giving collectors something to want in the near future. But the 53, obviously Robinson is a cultural icon at this point. He's probably one of those guys that is being elevated to the stature of some of the icons in the hobby. And with as rare as that card is in that particular grade, I think we're going to just see very spirited bidding for that.
There's some great Jackie stuff out there right now. Jackie, it seems as though Jackie is really picking up a head of steam. I don't know if that's true, but it just from what I'm seeing, man, it's all Jackie these days.
Well, it looks like the market is starting to move in a direction. I think it has been for quite some time, probably at least the last year. We're starting to see a lot of positive gains, not only in value but in interest. And I think what's happening right now is the top players from each of these sports are getting more and more popular, more iconic. I think a lot of the concentration in terms of people's collecting habits and probably more so investing habits are going into these major, call it the top 5 or 6 players from each sport. Jackie's included amongst them. So we're seeing a resurgence, not 2021 levels, but it's happening a lot more organically. It's not this massive, quick, fast rise over a very short period of time. We're seeing steady growth, a lot of interest, and I think it bodes well for the hobby long term.
So the surging of the Jackie cards you would attribute to industry-wide influences as opposed to Jackie in particular?
I think it's a combination. I mean, I think people, love the story. In fact, I'm currently reading Jackie's autobiography right now. I find it fascinating, some of the things and the things that he had to actually go through to get to the point where he is a cultural icon. But I think it's both, Lou.
Interesting, real interesting. Staying on the topic of the hobby today, Calvin, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was like the North and the South. There were the modern and ultra-modern collectors, and there were the vintage collectors. Today, it seems to finally, relatively recently, it seems to be finally kind of gelling together, where some vintage collectors are sticking their toe in the water in the modern market, and some of the modern collectors are certainly sticking their toe in the vintage market. Are you guys seeing that?
Yeah, we're definitely seeing crossover without a doubt. I think a lot of times those two markets have their own interests, but I think we're starting to see a lot of crossover, and I think it's really developed from guys enter the hobby with the players that they can see and watch today, that they know today. Like they can watch Shohei Ohtani, they can watch LeBron James, they can watch some of these guys play, and so I think it brings an aspect of interest and keeps people focused on those current players. And as they get more deeply involved into the hobby, and they start to go back and learn about the hobby, learn about the history, learn about some of the players that brought the game to where it is today. So I think you are going to continue to see that crossover, because the people that stick around, I think they do go back. They do learn more about the hobby, and therefore their collecting interest starts to become a bit wider.
I think that's certainly part of it, but I've always wondered whether we saw the divergence in the vintage hobby between collectors and investors. And it strikes me as the people who are investment oriented would look at the modern market as more of a day trading type of situation in a different economic market, and wanting to play in that market while keeping their interests in the vintage market and some of the longer term gains. I think they kind of like day trading in the modern market.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I think that sums it up perfectly. I think realistically, for the most part, you have those aspects of day trading within the modern market. I mean, look, we saw it, I saw it back in the 80s when I was collecting when I was younger, but like we were paying 10, 15, 20 cents for rookies that had no experience in the major leagues. Nowadays, they're paying 10, 15, 100, 200, $500,000 for guys that are coming up and have a lot of built up hype behind them. But that's a great analogy, and I think it sticks really well.
Well, let me ask you this.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Lou, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Galvin, if you were going to advise somebody from the vintage market who wanted to get into quote unquote day trading and wanted to get into the modern market, where would you start them? Would you start them with the kids? Because it seems like the kids are kind of priced out in many instances.
I mean, it's tough to say. Like, the modern market is not one of an area that I delve into a lot. I know the vintage market a lot more, but I think that the modern market, you want to again, I think with the modern market as well as the vintage market, I think you want to stick to major players, because like as we've seen in the modern market, one injury wipes out a ton of value, and it can do it very quickly. So you want to be careful in what you're doing, but I think there presents a lot of opportunity in the modern market for some of these guys that perform well, stay healthy, and do well. I mean, Trout cards are still widely traded. They still have value, but how much more valuable would they be if Trout would have stayed healthy for, these last several years?
Yep.
So just to kind of take the opposite of what Lou's saying, I'm a modern collector day trader, and I had investments in Wander Franco, in Tatis, and I've made some money with some of those guys, and I've lost money with some of these guys. Do you think that some of the modern collectors, one of the reasons they're gravitating down to vintage is because they were burnt, because they lost some money, and now with the vintage market, there's a little more stability. They're buying a blue chip stock?
I certainly see that. I mean, that's certainly part of the part of the thesis. So you have to take it with a grain of salt, just like a day trader in stock market, right? They're going to invest in 10 different stocks, and 2 of them they might make money, and 8 they might lose on. And if the winners don't cover the losers, then you're going to start seeing guys gravitate towards something that's going to be a little bit more stable. Again, the vintage market does very well. It's incredibly robust. The values continue to increase over time, as we've seen. And one of the things that I've noticed is the vintage market tends to go down a lot less in down markets, where the modern market tends to crater in down markets. If we all remember back to 2021, the modern market, a lot of these cards were astronomical. I mean, the values that were being achieved were incredible. And we had a pretty big lull in between 2021 and just about a year ago. But we're starting to see modern come back quite a bit. It's not back to 2021 levels, but I think the key if somebody's going to invest in the market, whether it be modern or vintage, I think the key is to stick with major players and understand that the market needs to be a little bit more organic than just this quick rise. Everybody wants to buy something and have it go up immediately, but when it does that, it's not organic. You have a bigger dip based on, how quick that thing rises. So I usually tell people, look, if you're going to invest, I mean, this should be a hobby first and foremost. People should enjoy it. You should buy what you like, buy what you enjoy, because if you buy what you enjoy, you're probably going to be buying things other people enjoy too. And as a secondary note, look for it in terms of value. But ultimately, the long term in anything wins out, generally speaking.
One of the things that's impressed me about the vintage market, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, Cal, was early on in it when investment became part of the market, I was always thinking, well, what happens if a Honus Wagner comes out of an attic somewhere? Is that going to cut into the price of it? And it's turned out, I think, over the years, what I've seen is it's exactly the opposite. A Honus Wagner coming out of the attic is actually going to help the market a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. I mean, I think that's absolutely correct. I'll give you another example. Just a few years ago, an auction house sold an 86 Fleer basketball wax case. And 86 is, although relatively old, not that far away, not as far away as a Honus Wagner. And when that came out and sold for roughly $2 million, everybody said, oh, here we go. We're going to see a deluge of 86 Fleer cases. That was, I think that happened 5 years ago or 6 years ago. Haven't seen one since. So I think that there's things out there that, like you said, a Wagner, or even if they found more 52 mantles, anything like that, there's so much demand, there's so much interest in those particular cards that it would have to be a tremendous amount of new inventory found for it to make even a dent or a difference.
Very cool. We are chatting with Calvin Arnold from Robert Edward Auctions. We've got a lot to talk about. They have a great spring auction going on. We're going to really get deep into it. When we come back, Crackerjack moment has seen its moment, Lou. It's done. Crackerjack moment is done. But we're going to come back with an All-Stars Cardboard Memories. This is a cool book, and we'll talk about it after the break. Calvin's in the house. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
1996, Brian Drent and the staff at Denver's Mile High Card Company have led the charge in the collectibles hobby. Mile High is a full-service dealer specializing in buying and selling cards and offers a competitive consignment program for all collectors. Whether it be their computerized want list service, appraisals, or auction services, Mile High has it all. If you've been searching for a company with a selection of high-grade vintage 1888 to 1970 baseball cards and memorabilia that shares your passion, aim high, Mile High. Go to milehighcardco.com or call 303-840-2784 for more information.
For more than 30 years, Robert Edward Auctions has been the industry leader when it comes to helping you realize the most money for your baseball cards and sports memorabilia. In addition to their unparalleled reputation for honesty and integrity, they reach the largest number of bidders in the business and offer lower seller's fees, as well as generous cash advances up front on your valuable material. Contact them today at 908-226-9900. That's 908-226-9900 or at robertedwardauction.com.
This is Brian Drent, president of Mile High Card Company. Is your sports card and memorabilia collection properly insured? For easily replaced personal property, homeowners insurance is all most people need. But for prized possessions that you may have spent a lifetime collecting, it doesn't go nearly far enough. Collectibles Insurance Services has been insuring for over 50 years. They offer a full range of protection and a $0 deductible at an affordable rate with no appraisals required. I know because they insure my collection. If you have a minute, go to collectinsure.com and learn more about insuring your personal card or memorabilia collection.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest. because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
How would you like to own the bat that was used by your favorite player when he hit that towering home run or game-winning base hit? Now look no further than JT Sports, specializing in the sale and authentication of professional game-used bats. As the official authenticators of professional model game-used bats for PSA DNA, JT Sports will guarantee the authenticity of any bat purchased from them. JT Sports also buys and sells game-worn uniforms, gloves, and baseball equipment. The unique quality of the collectible is what JT Sports is all about. Give them a call at 609-487-8003 or check them out at GameUseBats.com.
Okay, we are back. Calvin Arnold from REA Auctions is in the house. And by the way, it's collectrea.com now, isn't it? Collectrea.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah. Now, if they go to Robert Edward Auctions, though, it'll also come up to collectrea.com, correct?
Yeah, I believe it forwards. But you want to go to collectrea.com. You want to get registered. And the auction ends April 19th.
Good. All right. Yeah. Before we get into some of the more auction items, this is a book that actually did very, very well. And All Stars Cardboard Memories. The book was written by Ellen and I and Rico Petrocelli and Joe Orlando. And when we thought about this book, Rico and I were talking about it. He played in the golden age of baseball. Rico played with or against 56 Hall of Famers. Think about that.
Yeah.
56 Hall of Famers. And we're talking Hall of Famers, Mantle, Mays, anybody you can think of.
Oh,
so
Harold.
what we're going to do is I'm going to read an excerpt every week. You can buy the book. We'll talk about that. And this week, we're talking about Rico's take on Hank Aaron. And by the way the book is structured is we have a narrative on Rico's take and his relationship with the player, and then a really cool narratives on the player's cards, the different cards that came out with the player. I first met Hank Aaron in 1965 when I was 22 years old. We were playing the Braves in an exhibition game for the Jimmy Fund, the famous clinic in Boston for kids with cancer. I made a point of walking up to him to introduce myself because he was one of my idols when I was a kid. Now think about this. He's 22 years old. He's in the majors, and Hank Aaron is one of his idols. The thing that struck me was that he only weighed about 175 pounds.
Yeah.
I was expecting to meet a big hulking guy with bulging muscles, but I remember I couldn't believe how big his hands were. They were easily twice the size of mine. I walked up to quote Mr. Aaron, introduced myself, and shook his hand. He asked me to call him Hank. Wow. There I was, a nervous rookie player meeting one of the greats of the game, and he asked me to call him Hank. Since we were on a first-name basis, I bravely asked him if he would pose for me for a picture, and he graciously did, so I had my picture taken with him. Hank was very soft-spoken and unassuming, but he carried himself like a real pro. Later on, we bumped into each other when I played on the All-Star team in 1967 and 1969, and he congratulated me on being chosen for the team both times. Even though Hank was a 25-time All-Star, and a National League MVP and National League batting champs, he will always be remembered for breaking Babe Ruth's record. That night, I watched the game at home because we had an off day, and I remember jumping around like a nut after he hit the homer. I was happy because he was such a great guy, and he went through a hell of a lot that season with all the racial slurs and abuse from some fans. It was a damn shame. Towards the end of his career, Hank joined the Milwaukee Brewers, who we played regularly. I remember the first time we faced them with Hank on the team. By that time, he had lost some of his bat speed, and he wasn't hitting for power, that power that he was known for. After getting a base hit, he was advanced to third. Hank asked me how I was doing and complimented me on my play at third base. I asked him how he liked being in the American League, and he said that he was enjoying it. Hank was in his 40s by then, and even though he wasn't hitting for average, he still managed to get the bat on the ball. Finally, in 1999, when the All-Star Game was played at Fenway, there was an event at the Heinz Auditorium in downtown Boston that was part of the festivities. It was called Fan Fest. I was asked to participate, and who did I bump into? And that was there also with me, Hank Aaron. He was retired and working for Major League Baseball. He warmly shook my hand and asked how I was doing. I was thrilled because this guy still was one of my idols. I asked how he liked his job working in baseball, and he told me he loved having the opportunity to still be part of the game. For some reason, I had a ball in my hand, probably something to do with FanFest. I put it in his hand, and I asked him if he would mind signing it for me. Today, that ball is proudly displayed in my family room. I haven't seen him in years. Again, this is when it was written. I haven't seen him in years, but I think I'm going to send Hank the picture of the two of us in 1965 and ask him to sign it. My grandkids would love it someday. And that's a segment from an All-Stars Cardboard Memory. You can get this book by going to tomzappalamedia.com. I believe it's on sale. It's a good book. There's some great stories in it. And every week we're just going to, pick out little excerpts of Rico's relationship. Some of the players, obviously, he was very, very close friends with. Some he knew on a marginal basis, but it's kind of a cool book. So, you can go to tomzappalamedia.com and order your copy. Anyway.
Rico should check your pockets whenever you leave now that you know that Hank Aaron ball is there.
Oh, yeah, really? God. No, we talk about that and some of the players. I'll read about the Mickey Mantle one next week because it's kind of really funny. All right, let's get back to Kevin.
It's funny what he said about Hank because the power hitters of that era, one of them, Harmon Killebrew with the Twins. I remember going to a game at Fenway, and it got to the point in batting practice with Harmon Killebrew that the rest of the team was around the cage and they were shaking it and yelling at him like an animal. That's how he was hitting. But he was not a big guy.
No, he was small too. You're 1,000% right. Willie Mays wasn't big either. None of those guys. The only guy that sticks out of that whole generation, I'm saying before the generation, was Lou Gehrig and Jimmy Fox. I mean, those two guys were built. And
you gotta put Frank Howard in there too.
Yeah, well, but I mean Frank, he was big, but he wasn't a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean?
Right. That's true.
Anyway.
That's true.
All right. Talk to me about the extraordinary 1864 Brooklyn Resolutes. The Henry that whole Henry Chadwick, Mort Rogers. Tell me about that, man. That is a cool piece.
Yeah, it's an incredible piece. Obviously a super rare piece from the 1800s. So, that was one that actually Brian picked up and got in. I unfortunately, not being in the office, I don't get to see that stuff too much, so didn't have a lot of time. We got that one in pretty late in the cycle, so didn't have a lot of time to get to experience that one a little as much as I would have liked to. So it's a great piece. It's a super rare piece. I wish I had a little bit more to share on it with you guys.
No, that's okay. As long as we direct them to it, Lou.
Tom mentioned Lou Gehrig, and you have a Lou Gehrig rookie in this collection here, one of the lots in this collection. Tell me what makes this card special.
Yeah, again, probably the first and foremost thing is it's Lou Gehrig, right? So it makes it extremely special in the fact that Lou Gehrig is supremely popular, and rookie cards by nature are the most sought after cards around. The other thing, as we're talking about that one, that just popped into my head that I want to bring up is we actually have the Urban Shocker pieces from the Urban Shocker collection. So
wow.
within that collection is a panorama Type 1 photo from 1925 spring training with Lou Gehrig's rookie image. So he only played about 22, 23 games in 23, 24 combined. So his first full season. So that's a pretty incredible piece as well in regards to Gehrig.
You know something, Calvin? I've become over the last couple of years. I've become a memorabilia guy, and a lot of different people had impacted after talking to them. Impacted, my feelings towards memorabilia. A bat, whether it be a bat, a ball, a jersey, a document with a signature on it. The player's DNA is on it, as opposed to a card. Nothing against card collecting or any of that. I had a huge collection. I've since liquidated pretty much all of it and gravitated towards memorabilia. I just like the feel. I like having a Grover Cleveland Alexander signed contract. You know what I mean? That he held, that he signed, things like that. It's just, they're really cool pieces. And you guys have always been at or near the top for memorabilia. You guys have always done a great job, obviously with cards too, but memorabilia, man, you guys have always shined in that respect.
I think memorabilia takes on the personality of the player, right? I mean, I think there's a direct connection to the player. Cards are incredible. They're the bedrock of the hobby because, again, kids could go to the Five and Dime and buy cards. They couldn't go to the player and say, "Hey, can I have your jersey?" or "Can I have your bat?"
Right.
Or it just wasn't a thought of thing. And I think that's why memorabilia has that allure and has the value it does today. Is because I remember even in the early 1980s, you could literally buy a Ruth game used bat for $5,000, and so it just wasn't it wasn't the thing that drew the kids to the hobby. It was the cardboard, the ability to go to the Five and Dime store, buy a pack of cards, trade with their friends, flip it against the wall. But with that being said, I mean, I think memorabilia is incredible. There's some real special stories behind a lot of memorabilia pieces. For example, like in our current auction, we have from the Urban Shocker collection, we have Urban Shocker's 1918 to 1924 St. Louis Browns uniform, the full uniform.
That's cool. I mean, that's cool. That's a cool piece.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is you could say, like, you could argue that there's $1 million cards, but like that uniform, I mean, go find another one. So the thing is why isn't memorabilia, why isn't that piece $1 million, $500,000 or something of that nature? Just because question. Again, because you got to think about, I want to add this one point. You got to think about how something transports itself from 1918 to today to be even offered, right? Like back in 1918, these pieces were just a piece of clothing that you wore. It's kind of like a concert T-shirt you got 30 years ago. You wore it a long time, it wore out, you threw it away, gave it away, whatever. So the mere fact that these pieces arrive in today's world to be able to be offered to collectors is pretty phenomenal.
Louis, what are your thoughts?
Memorabilia has this intangible nature. I remember, Tom, when we did the book signing at the Sports Museum, and I forget the gentleman you had with us, but he had the 2 checks that were written for
Adam Cohen,
right? He had the 2 checks that were written for Babe Ruth, and you're holding them in your hand, and you have Rupert's signature, you have Brazil's signature, and you're imagining the conversations that happened while these checks were being signed, and everything that went around at one of the most iconic moments in baseball. And that's what memorabilia brings. It brings this intangible to it.
And Louis, if you recall, that was on our right, and on our left was a complete T206 collection with the Wagner card that belonged to, I can't remember, the gentleman from Texas. I can't remember his name.
Don Spence.
Don Spence. It was Don Spence's entire collection, but we were gravitating towards the contract. I mean, that was like really cool.
Holding those checks in our hand was such an interesting experience because, again, perhaps the most iconic moment in baseball history. And it's like just having that connection to it just is something special. It's something different.
I could not agree with you more. I want to talk about theft. We talk about this a lot on the air, Calvin, and it's become a real problem in the hobby. You read every day about guys smashing windows in card stores. You read about thefts at all the shows. Guys, actually, guys on camera stealing things. What do you guys? What kind of precautions does REA take at whatever convention you're at, or whatever show you're at?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and it is a problem not only for this hobby, just anywhere money gravitates towards, that becomes an issue. And I guess from one sense, it just means that it's dragging a lot of people into the hobby in terms of value. So we're just very aware. I think that's the key word. We're very aware of our surroundings. We're very aware of what's taking place. We take every precaution in terms of protecting the property that we're custodied with. Obviously, we have insurance. We use safes at the at shows and things of that nature that we go to. But I think the real key is just being aware of what's around you, never letting anything of value out of your sight.
Good point.
I want to get back to the memorabilia a little bit, Cal, and maybe it's a modern vintage question again, but there were a couple moments last year. There was the guy who caught Cal Raleigh's 60th homer and then gave it to a kid. There was the Mel Rojas homer in Game 7, and it's like that ball is around somewhere. Those balls are around somewhere. Is there a market for modern memorabilia, and is that going to evolve? Is it going to get bigger? Because I would love to have that Mel Rojas ball. It was a moment. 15 million people watched that ball game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think actually that ball sold at auction recently. So there is definitely a market for modern memorabilia like that. Anything that's tied to a special event or a special home run, a special pitch or anything like that is going to hold value because, again, people connect to it in a way that you can't connect to, let's say, particularly in cards. I mean, if you were one of the fans sitting in that stadium and that home run happened, you have a direct connection to that game. And so a memorabilia piece from that game, such as Rojas's home run ball, it provides a story for, first of all, like one of the things it really does is it provides a story for generations for your family. If you end up owning it, I mean, you can talk about that for 3 generations, or 4 generations. That story can get passed down through family history. So memorabilia has just a way of connecting people, really.
Tom, what do you think we could get for the Roman Anthony throw ball from the other night?
Did they ever find it? No.
I don't know. Maybe not.
Do you think he has the yips, Lou?
He has the yips. They're playing with his mechanics, and he's all screwed up. He's in his
So what do they? I mean, so now what do you do with an outfielder that has the yips? I've never heard of that. I mean, Rick Ankiel, he was a pitcher and had the yips. Yep. What happens when an outfielder has the yips? What do?
You DH him.
Well, like Ankiel, you move him from pitcher to the outfield. So maybe you move this guy from the outfield to the pitching mound.
Put him on the mound.
No, they'll straighten him out. But it's just amazing how much they've messed with this kid defensively.
Well, you know what it is, too? There's so much pressure on this kid because they suck right now. You know what I mean? So he's trying to take the burden of the whole team on his back. But let's move on from that. Hey, I have a question regarding the Buy It Now on your website. You have some items that are like blew me away that are for sale. How does that work? I mean, do you have somebody that can sign those to you that say, I don't want to put them in an auction, or do they belong to either you or Brian or somebody? How does that work, Cal?
Yeah, again, we work with collectors who, maybe don't want to put something up for auction for a number of different reasons, and they have a certain price in mind that they want to get. So it's just another opportunity to offer collectors an avenue to be able to sell their items. It's a great venue for the right people and the right things. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, we get a lot of the material. In fact, most of the material from consigners that want to place it into the marketplace. The marketplace, we operate on a 5% fee, so there's no buyer's premium attached to the final price. The price you see on the marketplace is the price that you would pay, or we have the ability to make offers. You can make an offer to the owner of the item, and so
you
we can
got some
facilitate.
really cool stuff. I mean, some of it's very expensive, but it's really cool. We talked about this last week. Lou had his thoughts on it. There's a whole controversy right now with the What's Not app or Whatnot, whatever the hell it's called. What's up, what's not, what is, what, who the hell knows? But anyway, point being is that there's some legislation that's floating around out there right now that's possibly looking at sports card breaks as a form of gambling. What are your thoughts on that, Calvin?
Yeah, I mean, I can see it. The thing is that I think that in straight gambling, the only thing of monetary value is the money that you'd win or lose. I think in breaks, you at least have something tangible that you can win. I mean, just like in gambling, it's not always going to pay off. But I can see where they're coming from. But again, I have a personal feel for that, and I think that as long as something's being returned to value. Again, it might not be the value that you're going to be paying for that item, and that's the nature of gambling, but you are getting returned value.
Interesting. Calvin's in the house, Calvin Arnold. We are going to take a break. We have one more segment. I want to get into some of the other items in the auction, and we have a few non-auction topics to talk about. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Auction is a family-owned and operated online auction specializing in autographed memorabilia, sports cards, coins, art, and collectibles. Since their founding in 2010, they've grown to 2 facilities in Phoenix, Arizona, totaling over 60,000 square feet. Jared Cavalier and an incredible staff of over 150 team members serve a very large customer base and enjoy every minute of it. By working with leading authentication companies, Pristine ensures all items are 100% authentic. In addition, third-party authenticators regularly travel to Pristine Auction to provide authentication services on site. Pristine Auction strives to operate its business in a way that's honoring to God, their families, and their customers. With a strong focus on speed, quality, and premier customer service, their mission is to be the leading online auction for every level of collector and fan. Pristine also works for Hope Sports and Identity Hoops International, traveling to Mexico to build houses for the less fortunate. Pristine Auction offers several online auction formats with thousands of auctions ending each day. For more information, go to pristineauction.com. That's Pristine Auction, the best in the business.
If you are a discerning collector interested in owning the most important pieces in the hobby, look no further than Leland's Auctions. The original sports auction and appraisal house, Leland's was established in 1985 by legendary Pioneer founder Joshua Leland Evans. And today, President Mike Hefner carries on the tradition. From the Tom Brady card and memorabilia collection to the famed Boston Garden auction to high-end card auctions from every major sport, Leland's has always maintained the highest standards. Go to Lelands.com and get your bid in. That's Leland's, the hobby's leading sports auction house for 4 decades.
It's often been said that championships are won on the practice field, and world records come only to those willing to work harder than everybody else. Heritage Auctions is the world's largest collectibles auctioneer because we believe that becoming the best is only an invitation to the challenge of remaining the best. This requires the skills of the hobby's top experts, capable of identifying and maximizing value for our consigners. It requires the most visited website in the industry, courting a global audience of collectors over 1.5 million strong. It requires a dedicated press department that expands our global reach far beyond the entrenched hobby marketplace. It's hard work, but a simple premise. Present the finest collectibles to the largest population of potential buyers, and world records will come. We invite all listeners to put the unmatched power of Heritage Auctions to work for you. Auction evaluations are always free, and our commission-based fee structure ensures that our interests are always aligned. The highest possible price for your collectibles. There will always be new world records to chase, so let's chase them together. visit our website at ha.com and request your no-obligation review today.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
Okay, we're back, and Calvin Arnold is in the house from REA Auctions. Hey, Louis, why don't you tell our viewers and listeners about our good friend, Tom Finkelmeyer, and Finkelmeyer Insurance Company?
Let me find the copy first. Finkelmeyer Insurance Agency has been insuring collectibles since the early 80s.
Hold on, stop.
What?
I can't tell you, Calvin, this is Lou's favorite part of the show, when he does the Finkelmeyer live read. I'm sorry, Lou, I digress. Go ahead.
Alvin, if you ever do advertising for REA, do a live read on this show. It's like you get 3 times your money's worth.
It sounds like it.
Finkelmeyer Insurance Agency has been insuring collectibles since the early 80s. The late Tom Finkelmeyer wrote the original sports memorabilia insurance policy when no one else in the industry was insuring sports collectibles. A lifelong collector of sports cards, Tom Sr. instilled the love of collecting in Tom Jr., who is the current president of Finkelmeyer Insurance Agency. Tom Finkelmeyer Jr., with 3 decades of insurance experience, has paired that expertise with 50 years of collecting. With a litany of professional designations, including counseling and risk management, Tom covers every aspect of your collectibles insurance needs. Unlike some of the companies that sell collectibles insurance directly to the consumer online, Finkelmeyer Insurance Agency is the only independent retail agent who specializes in sports memorabilia and collectibles nationwide. Representing all major companies that sell collectibles insurance, there's no agency that insures more collectors, dealers, appraisers, auctioneers, or events in the collectibles hobby than Finkelmeyer Insurance Agency. Our good friend and hobby legend John Tovey of JT Sports has been using Finkelmeyer Insurance for over 20 years. For more information, go to thefia.com. That's Finkelmeyer Insurance, where collecting is our passion.
Thank you, Lou. Very well done. Very well done.
Very
And
well
by
done.
the way, we're talking about gambling, Calvin. Notice where Lou is. Lou is in his sports book at the Brook Casino. Well, kind of, sort of, but that's your working environment there, correct?
Yeah. It was wild this week. I'll tell you what, with the NCAA tournament. It's
Was
like
it really?
it's the New Year's Eve of betting. It's like
really?
All the amateurs are out. Yep.
So, Lou, can I ask you a question on a night like
You know
that?
what the favorite bet was? And
What?
Cal, maybe I don't know how involved you are in sports betting. In the first couple of rounds, round to 64 and 32, it was the race to 10 bet. And everyone would come in and give me 10 games in a row, race to 10 on the underdog, all betting.
What does that mean? Hold on. Explain that to me.
First team to 10 points in the game.
You're kidding.
Nope. And they just kept betting the underdogs and betting the underdogs. I got
How'd that work out for him?
Actually, I got into an argument with a guy. I don't know if you find this interesting or not. Just stop me if you don't find it interesting. He placed 10 $10 bets, right? Like 4 at a time. And he came to me and he wanted 4 bets on the underdog the next 4 games, race to 10. So I gave him Clemson in one of them because Clemson was giving 1.5. He came back. The only bet he lost was that one of the 10 because Clemson, he said, wasn't the underdog. It was the favorite. It was the higher seed as well. They were getting 1.5, so they were the underdog He goes, no, that's not the way it works. I'm going, yeah, that is kind of the way it works.
Lou,
Yeah.
I mean, do you ever have like super big winners there at the casino?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Yeah. We'll do $250,000. I've paid out $250,000. Yeah.
Do they buy you a drink or anything?
Oh, they're pretty good. Sometimes they're pretty good. Yep. But the 22-year-old kid who wins $17 will often tip me more than the guy who wins $5,000. So
I was gonna say.
I just look at him. And I go, just keep him a kid.
Yeah, it's like the guy that wins $5,000. He's like, here's a crisp 20. Go spend it.
Let's talk about the NCAA for a minute. With the NCAA tournament, both men and women's, do you guys see a spike, or is there a spike in cards for those players at the college level?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a spike. I think cards from, like, for example, the WNBA. Caitlin Clark, set the world on fire when everybody watched her, and now she's moved into the WNBA, and so that brought notoriety to the sport, and people go after those types of cards. That's the very reason why we saw baseball card collecting expand in the 80s to football, hockey, and basketball, and then maybe 5-6 years ago, we started seeing heavy interest in Formula One and golf and some of these soccer. Soccer's massive at this point. So, yeah, I think as people are able to watch and participate in it, even from a betting standpoint, the interest in cards gains.
Interesting.
What happens to a player What happens to a player like Cooper Flagg, who had an amazing college career and now he's a pro, and college career kind of falls behind a little bit? Are the college cards, and are they valued?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they still tend to hold their value or have value. I think that as they become a pro, their cards, their first pro card becomes much more significant. Because now they're in the pros, right? There wasn't any other options available to collectors prior to them appearing on their first pro card.
And I've wondered this for years because I hang around minor league parks a lot. I'm always dealing with prospects and things like that. And minor league teams will put out limited edition card sets of their players. I've always wondered why those haven't caught fire. Because again, it's the scarcity you talk about, Tom, all the time. The manufactured rarity is like there aren't many of these cards around, especially as these players become storied pros.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting phenomenon as well. I just don't know why. I don't have the answer for that one because there's certainly cards out there of players that are much scarcer than their pro cards. For example, Cal Ripken Jr., his minor league card is much more scarce than his 82 Topps, future rookies card. So, but maybe it'll catch on. Like Star Company, I guess, is considered minor league, but not really. I mean, it's just prior to their first pro card. Like for Jordan, Star Company always took a back seat to 86 Fleer basketball for the longest time, and now Star Company, torches the 86 Fleer card.
Interesting. What are some of the other items? Can you highlight a few more items for us in the auction?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a great mix of collectibles. There's probably something for everyone in there. We have several 52 mantles. Obviously, that's a huge mainstay. Multiple grades, 5s and 4s. We have a really nice looking authentic. We have a newly graded SGC3. We have, you guys are going to love this, and I know you're going to go right to the computer and start bidding. We have a massive amount of Pokemon cards in this particular auction.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't know this now, but we are experts. We had a Pokemon show last week, and Lou and I have become the resident experts of Pokemon. Lou, right? You've already started your collection, Louis, right?
Well, you're going to be able to add some incredible stuff to your collection, Lou. There's quite a few sets and single cards, lots of unopened. We have an incredible, I guess, what's called I'm not an expert in this particular arena, but a one-piece case, which is a very popular Yu-Gi-Oh unopened box. So it's got, they did it in two versions, a blue bottom box and a white bottom box, which is, I guess, first and second printing. And a blue bottom box is much more valuable, and that's the case that we have. But so we have a lot of that. We have a couple of incredible modern cards. We have a 2018 Good Winning Champions Kanji Shohei Ohtani card. That one, I think we sold that one a few years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, for 30 grand, and we expect it to bring about 150,000 now. So that's, there you go. That's modern cards for you. If you get the right player, you know, you can certainly do well with them. In addition to that, we have a lot of unopened material, a lot of great unopened material. So a 60 Topps cello box, baseball box.
Well, hold on. You've got a 67 Topps unopened. 67
we
Topps.
Do.
Petroselli is in that box.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Petroselli is in that box, right?
That's you probably should buy. You probably should buy it for him, Tom.
Yeah, you're probably right, but I don't think so. What is the bid? Do you know what the bidding on that item is at right now? You wouldn't know off the top of your head, would you?
The 67 wax box, I believe, is currently sitting at 43,000.
Wow.
Very cool. So we expect it to bring, you know, about around 150.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Just another incredible piece. But, you know, again, we have something from pretty much every corner of the hobby. So there's going to be something for everybody.
Good.
Okay. So let me ask you another why question you probably can't answer because I'm good at this today.
You're good at why questions?
Yeah. That can't be answered. We talk about Pokemon, and I'm always wondering why there isn't an expansion in non-sports cards. Like, for example, if I'm a card manufacturer, I'm putting out a Taylor Swift card from the Era Tour, and I'm doing a series in each city. And, you know, there's plenty of people out there to buy them. Just suck some people into the business, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, I think that's one directed towards the manufacturers, but I don't know why. I think again, non-sports has gained in popularity and value, especially like vintage stuff. Some of the major sets, like the 1940 Superman set, the Mars Attack set.
Oh, yeah.
Again, like what we talked about earlier, Three Stooges set. Those are some pretty iconic sets that have brought value to that space.
Very cool. All right, I think we're just about out of time. Calvin, people want to bid. Oh, when does it end again?
It ends April 19th. Again, initial bids need to be placed by 9 o'clock Eastern by April 19th to participate on any lot that you're interested in. You can register at collectrea.com. I'd register early and get your bids in.
And by the way, remember, just a reminder, if you can take a look at that narrative and get back to us sooner rather than later, that would be greatly appreciated. We have
apparently I have to rewrite it.
one of the items in the book, the new book, Legendary Finds in Sports Collecting Treasures, is a major find by Robert Edward Auctions. Nice. That was kind of headed up by Calvin Arnold. So cool story, Calvin. That was a real cool story, by the way. Very cool.
Yeah, it was great to work with that family. So
yeah. All right. I think we're just about out of time. Louis, great job. Louis, next week, Petroselli is going to be in the house from his home studio.
We hope.
Now, what does that mean? We're going to find out next week. Is he going to be able to get on camera, Lou? That's going to be the $64,000.
I'll tell you what, let's tell him the show is Tuesday and work on it on Tuesday, just in case.
Okay.
I think Lou's got the idea.
And, you know, by the way, you would think Rico, I can't tell you how much Lou and I love the man. We adore him, right?
One of the greatest human beings.
Now, you would think we've been on the air together for 11 years. And while we're speaking, 4 minutes ago, my phone is ringing, and it's Rico trying to call me, wondering where the hell his car is that is on the transport truck being delivered.
That was your job? Yeah.
Right. You would think that he would know that, hey, wait a minute, it's Wednesday. They're on the air. Negative. Anyways, you got to love him. With that being said.
Let him know that we have a spot in the summer auction for his car.
Okay. He just bought it, by the way. He just bought it.
Tell him to check on REA.
Exactly.
Oh, God. Lou and I are going to. He's got no. He's just got no conception of what he has from memorabilia. It's like all stuffed in a room down in his basement. He's got like a finished basement, and he's asked Lou and I to kind of go in there with him.
Well, we just found out today he has a Hank Aaron ball.
He's got all kinds of stuff. He's got handwritten letters. He says, "Oh yeah, I think I have a handwritten letter from Ted to me when he was giving me tips on how to hit." I said, Rico, that has value. He said, "You think?" He's got stuff like that. It's just like, wow. All right, guys. With that being said, Calvin, always nice talking to you. Say hi to Brian.
Pleasure.
Louis, great job as usual. And to our viewers and listeners, we are back in Boston. Glad to be back. Missed the warm weather, but it's going to warm up here.
A month from now, you'll be really glad.
With that being said, happy collecting.